kind of late in the day. It's like around 3:30ish. I've just been super lazy and on my way to the shop now. Mikey's there. He actually got the two-step working on the SRT, so we're gonna see if we can shoot some flames with that thing. If not, we're gonna make it. To be honest, I just passed the state trooper doing 90 miles an hour, so he's not turning around, so I'm good. So I'm gonna put you guys down and hurry up and get to the shop. All right, guys, we just pulled to the shop. Now let's go see what the hell Mike's doing. Dude, it smells like gas in here. Sup, little bitch? You know what you're doing?
No, I said I can't get this clip off. I've been over here fiddling with it for the past.
You gotta pull that.
15 minutes.
You see that green clip in there? You gotta pull that out.
I know how.
Get Nino nose pliers. All right, so I'm basically going backwards because yesterday in the video that you guys seen, I have to route this along the basically like the frame rail inside here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the whole entire dash back out. Just like I said, it's only gonna take me like 10 minutes to pull it out. The only thing is I am gonna be pulling the steering wheel off instead of the actual like steering column itself. So that way that's still gonna be bolted down. And I also have the dash harness plugged in as well. So that's, I don't really have that plugged into really anything. So it's not gonna be hard to pull that out. And it should just come right out with the dash. So I'm gonna go ahead and start by ripping the seats out. And then when I rip the seats out, I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling the dash back out. So remember how you thought it was funny when I was doing my fuel pump?
Oh yeah.
In the garage?
Yeah, I remember.
And I was covered in gas?
Well, I'm not covered in gas right now. The floor is just covered.
Dude, the floor is soaked right now. So
It's not my fault.
it's a little bit of payback, you know?
Yeah. I at least helped you.
Boy.
Exhaust.
Huh?
Look at my exhaust.
I can't see down there.
Can you see that?
Oh my God. Dude, hold on, kick it again. It's a nice sturdy exhaust you got there.
I did that in the AutoZone parking lot.
Oh, well, I mean, for a quick little thing, I mean, it's not that bad, but it's pretty bad. So as you guys can see, I got the whole entire dash removed again. It was a little bit of a pain because I had to take the steering column out. I thought I wasn't gonna have to, but I ended up doing it anyways. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just start routing the fuse box harness and zip tying it up to this metal frame right here. I started rerunning the wires. I remounted the ECU on the back of this frame, so that way it's a lot cleaner look for the wires to overlap and plug in, because the way I had it, the wires were basically kinked to like a 90-degree angle. And so now I'm just gonna go ahead and bolt this ground up to here, and then I'm also going to be mounting up these OEM boost solenoids. And unfortunately this car did not come with the factory boost solenoids, so I have to I actually grabbed the boost solenoids off of the black parts car, but unfortunately it didn't come with the bracket that these sit on, because these sit on the bracket like this, and it would have made it a lot easier. So since I have these thin steel plates, it honestly fits in this slit perfectly fine. It's a little loose fit, but it'll definitely get me by. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this into two 90-degree angles, so that way I can bolt this down to the body of the car, somewhere in here, or if not, somewhere up here, just so that way these solenoids are not flopping around behind the dash and not causing any noise. I want them to be secured. And once I get that done, then I'm gonna go ahead and move to the fuse box, just like I was saying yesterday. I'm not really sure on how I really want to mount this yet, because I might just somehow mount it to the firewall like that, maybe a little closer to this hole, just so that way it'll be easier for me to get to fuses. So if I ever blow a fuse, I can still get to it perfectly fine and not be a hassle. Because actually, I don't think I'm gonna be able to run the glove box how I have this set up. I might if I crush these zip ties, but I think that might be an issue. I might have to move that up. I'm gonna try to just before I put the glove box back in. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this plate and get that mounted, and then we'll move to getting the fuse box mounted as well. All right, so I was able to find two self tappers to mount this plate. I don't have any of my electricals here, so I had to turn the compressor on and let the air build up for me to use my 3/8 impact. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this plate mounted. And I really wish I had a head unit or a head mount for this camera, so that way I'd be able to show you. But I got the plate mounted up here. I just used two self tappers. Yeah, there was no way I can do it with one hand, but I just got those tapped in there. So then that way I can take these solenoids and have them sit in here, basically, basically like that. And then that way I can just have the wires plug in and I should be good to go. All right, so I got the solenoids mounted. I had to throw a zip tie on there, otherwise they'd fall off, but this is on there pretty solid. I also routed the wires up here just to give it a little bit cleaner look. I don't want a bunch of wires basically falling down from here. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this down. This is just a ground. So all right, cool. So we got that grounded down. We got those in. We got the ECU wired up and as well as mounted. We got the boost solenoids mounted. So now I think what I'm gonna do for this fuse box is there's this hole at the top here where bolt goes through and bolts it down to the engine bay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and use that same bolt, but I'm gonna actually put it through the firewall like that, and then it'll be securely mounted. So I'm gonna go ahead and run that bolt through. All right, so I got the fuse box mounted and secured, as well as I got these wires routed through this hole over here. Now I'm working with these plugs here that go underneath the dash back up in this area. And now the only issue with that is it bolts to where the master cylinder goes. So I kind of got to figure out if I can bolt the master cylinder to that without the bracket, which I should be able to. I shouldn't have a problem with that. I was thinking about routing them probably like back behind the radio, but I kind of wanted to have it in the factory location. The OBD port I might route underneath, probably like in the middle in this area, because basically when the whole entire dash is there and the silver radio bezel's there, I might just be able to route it in the middle. Maybe do something cool like that to where I have it like above the switch panel or in between or something like that. Or if I can route it in the factory location, which there should be enough room, but the only problem is I want to route this like all tucked away. I don't want this binding up against the steering rack or anything like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to figure out where I want to route these wires to and get those zip tied up and out of the way. And then I honestly should be able to put the dash back because the only wires I have to extend are basically these wires going through this hole up there, and I have to fix this wire that I cut. So I'm gonna fix that first before I go ahead and put the dash back in. Let's route it. This right here kind of looks like a rat's nest, but that'll be cleaned up in a little bit. But I did just spend the last like 30 minutes on my back trying to get all this mounted up to where it needed to be. Just like I said, this is all in its factory location. I got the master bolted in, I got this bracket bolted in, as well as all these connectors going to it. So I also got the OBD and the OG spot as well. Now that I got all that routed, just like I said, the fuse box bolt is bolted down. I redid the ECU, and everything's basically just a lot cleaner look. And now that that's in there, you guys can see that the engine bay is not really going to have a mess of wires like it normally does. So all these wires are not going to be here. This, just like I said, is the main brake connector that basically connects to the I forgot what it's called, but it basically bolts in right there. This is where the engine harness connects to, and I have to figure out what these connectors are all for. There is like a black box that sits down here. I think it's like some type of like EVAP, like something to do with the EVAP that plugs into. So I'm gonna go ahead and figure out where all those plugs go another day, and as well as these plugs. Just like I said, most of these I'm probably just gonna get rid of, like these side marker lights and the headlights and all that. This I'm not going to be running. I just have to keep that plugged in so I don't throw a code for it. And then that's a reverse switch. I may end up running that, I might not. So yeah, this is basically how the harness is as of right now. This is not how it's going to look. All this will be tucked away nicely, as well as wrapped. It's going to be ran underneath like all the frame rails and whatnot. All right, so after a good 30 minutes, I finally was able to get the whole entire dash put back together. Now, I don't think I ever have to pull this out again, except for when I have to get a cage. But I got the whole entire fuse box harness mounted underneath the car. I got it mounted up to the firewall, as well as I got everything plugged into the ECU in a different way, so that way the wires don't get all kinked. I also got the boost solenoids mounted up to the top of up there. I made my own mounting bracket, so that way they're not flopping around. The only thing I have to do is plug this into the door. I'm not going to be running that, and I got to find out where their sensor goes. And I also got this whole entire side put back together. These wires up here are plugged into all the steering wheel, as well as I got all this plugged in for the OEM location on where those wires go. So the dash harness and the fuse box harness is all plugged in, as well as the OBD port is plugged in as well. So I'm probably gonna end it off right here. I've been at the shop all day and I definitely knocked out a lot. I will have a tutorial on something new that I got coming in for the steering wheel, so that will be nice. And then as well as getting this carbon fiber hood and trunk re-cleared. So you know the usual, like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna end it right here, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.